All right. Let's see if I can get this up for you all. Oop, don't look at that. That's getting ahead of us.
Close your eyes.
Close your eyes, right? Let's see. Slideshow. Okay, well, let me do this so I can see this. Really? There we go. All right. So Lesley, you can start us off.
Okay. There should be a map on the first slide.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. This is our little list. I forgot that I had done that. And if folks, if you could remember to mute now while we do our presentation, and then if you would like to ask a question, just remember to unmute. But it's just a little bit more focused for folks if everyone mutes so they can hear us more clearly. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so this is sort of a general map. You can see, so our spot for the month of April is Lake Bray in the Mount Tom State Reservation. And yes, so that's what Laura was just circling with the cursor. And of these two yellow roads, the one on the right is Route 5. And Route 5, you just take Pleasant Street out of town, follow Route 5, and you'll see signs. Now here, it shows you the Jehovah's Witness. If you see that on your right, you've passed the entrance. So I usually use the Canoe Club on the left, but you'll see signs that point you to this road that'll take you right into it'll go through the gates, Mount Tom Reservation area. There's a parking lot right there. And let's just go, I have the written description and then I have a more detailed map below that.
Great.
So written directions. So you just take Pleasant Street towards Holyoke and just keep going on Route 5 and keep your eye open for the signs on the right. And it's fairly easy. It'll take you right there. Of course, if you're coming from Amherst, you want to go over the bridge. If you don't want to go through town, you know, you can take, you can go around the Rotary and get on 91 and then get off 91 at the next exit. And then which will put you on Route 5 if you turn right off the exit. And from there, the directions are the same. You'll see the Delaney House on your right. And then not too far from there, you'll see the Mount Tom signs.
And we've been, for people who may not have been at a lot of our do-it-yourself presentations, we've just been telling people to take a photo of this slide. And that way you'll have that on your phone if you wanted the directions. Another thing I wanted to mention too, if you can see, maybe you can see all of us, little thumbnails of all the pictures of all of us on the side of your screen on the right side. If you put your cursor up there, you can click on the flat line and it will get rid of seeing all the people on the side, and then you can see the slides better. If anyone needs me to explain again, I can do that.
Great. So we'll hang on to this. Oh, from East Hampton. So I just noticed a question from Willie Joe. You come from East Hampton, you just take Route 5 north. So if you're coming from downtown East Hampton, you want to take East Street out to Route 5. Does that enough direction
No.
from East Hampton? No, it's not.
No.
South on Route 5.
Yeah, you go, right. You go south on Route 5.
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. South on Route 5. Yes, I was thinking if you're coming from Holyoke. I don't know why I thought that. From East Hampton, it's you would take East Street and then take a right on Route 5 and then follow these same directions. And then if you're coming from Holyoke, since I was thinking about that, you take Route 5 north and you will see the signs to Mount Tom on your left. So once you go in, let's take a look at the next slide. So once you go in, so you can see here, it's a little easier to see Route 5 and 91 and the road that takes you right in. Big parking lot there. And in the parking lot, I think there are signs that point you to the trail, but you can see the lake right there. So you just sort of head to the lake. There are lots of, apparently, and I don't remember this because it's been a couple of years since I've been to the lake, but there are, if I remember correctly, there's signs all along the path that keep you going around the lake and then into the woods here and back. It's not a terribly long loop, maybe 1.5 miles total from parking lot to parking lot. And it's flat. There's some gravel surfaces, but it's really just very easy.
Yeah, so on I would say on this side
Mhm.
of the lake, it's there's an accessible portion of the trail.
Mhm.
So you park there, and the same side that you park on, the trail is accessible. But then when you get on this other side of the lake, it becomes a narrow hiking path where, you know, you are stepping up and over roots and rocks and things.
I guess that's right. I was remembering more the accessible trail, but there
Yeah,
are,
so you know, just keep that in mind as far as
Thank you for that.
accessibility, and you know, whether you want to do something a little more where you have to step over things and follow a narrow trail. But the trail is very obvious. The loop trail is very obvious if you do the whole thing, or if you just do part of the accessible trail and then, or the accessible trail only, and then turn around.
Mhm.
So,
and it's still, there are woods on the, you know, on the side of the accessible trail. So in terms of some of the smaller birds that we'll talk about, you still have a chance to see them.
mhm.
You won't miss them if you don't go all the way through the woods.
Or
But
actually,
very
right,
flat trail.
even right at the parking lot is a good spot to bird
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
right.
Yes.
That's-
So if you don't feel like walking at all, you can just park right there and look for our target species. Did you want to add anything else before I move forward?
Let's just go to the next slide, which was
Okay.
just for written
I was
direction.
wondering if there was any place to sit on along the trails. Do you know if there are?
I don't recall.
Okay, I was
I was
just
can't
hoping to
recall
wondering.
get a
either.
chance to actually walk the trail before our meeting, but I couldn't.
Mhm. Okay, I was
So-
just wondering.
Yeah. I think there are picnic tables in and near the parking lot, for whatever that's worth. You know, if you
Yeah.
want to sort of rest a little bit and look around.
Sure.
Okay, we can go on. I guess we could start with the birds.
Great.
Anybody have any questions before we go on? About how to get there, or about the path, or parking, or anything? No? Okay.
That's me. Blue-headed vireo is our first bird. It used to be called the solitary vireo. So if you have an older field guide, you might see it called that instead. But the blue-headed vireo is quite distinctive with these really clear white spectacles around the eyes, this beautiful gray head, and then this olive green yellowish patch on the back towards the wings and tail. And vireos are pretty, you know, 5 inches long, maybe, I want to say. They move more slowly and more deliberately than warblers. And so if you're just beginning and learning your vireos and your warblers, one thing to look at this spring, maybe you don't even need to identify which species you have, but you want to try and see if you can start noticing overall movement of a bird and how quick or more lumbering it is that vireos do versus the quicker movements of warblers. Also, the bill of vireos are thicker. This looks pretty thin, but compared to a warbler and other species of birds, they have thicker bills. But the blue-headed vireo starts coming through, I want to say mid-April. I don't know, Lesley. Yeah. So they migrate down to southern part of the United States. So they are sort of short distance or medium distant migrants. And so they're going to come through sooner than, let's say, our red-eyed vireo, which is another common vireo species. They're a species that they're a long distance migrant. They're way down in the Amazon basin. So it takes them a little bit longer to get here. So this is one of the vireos that we should keep an eye out for in April. This is just another picture of one. And you can see the thicker bill and the white eye patch or the spectacles around the eye. And it has kind of these wing bars, yellowish along the side. They're really beautiful birds. This picture doesn't give it justice. I always feel like whenever I see my first blue-headed vireo of the spring, I always kind of, it's like, oh, wow, what is that bird? Because they're really kind of stunning. And so here in the corner, I did put the song. So do you think we should go to the song, Lesley?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, I'll try it, and hopefully I won't like lose the how to get back to the video or our presentation. But this is all about birds.org from Cornell. And let me just play it, and then we can kind of, I hope folks can hear that. You can't hear it?
I can't hear it.
Try to get back to. Oof. Did anyone else hear it? No. Okay. Yeah,
I have trouble
it's a
figuring
setting.
it out.
I think it's a setting in Zoom, unfortunately.
For whatever it's worth, when I hear the red-eyed vireo, it sounds to me like it's singing "Die sweet, die snuff, die sweet, die snuff," and it goes really fast. But when I hear the blue-headed vireo, it's a similar song, only much slower. Die sweet, die snuff, die sweet, die snuff. So I don't know if that helps anybody, but that's how I hear it.
All right. Can you all hear me now or no? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next bird is the warbling vireo, which, as you can see in this photo, is a lot less spectacular with those brilliant, not brilliant, but the very distinctive pattern overall. The warbling vireo has not the big white eye patches, but kind of just this light eyebrow. And this one shows it being very grayish. They're actually kind of an olive green color. They can be just sort of that solid olive green. They don't have any wing bars, and they are like to be in floodplain forests. So often we see them, like at Arcadia, we see them down near wet areas, near the bridge, for example. That's where they're often singing. They're kind of have a short tail and bluish gray legs. And again, you can see sort of this thicker bill of a vireo instead of the thinner bill of a warbler. No wing bars again, and just sort of white underneath. So, and this little plain little white eyebrow is what helps distinguish them. And we'll see, let's see if the sound works again. I tried clicking on something, so I'm going to try one more time. Can folks hear that now?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So what I want you to notice about such a lovely song is that it goes sort of this up and down, a really sweet little whistle, up and down, and then it ends on an upward ascending pitch. It goes just at the end, and that's what you try to listen for. Like you listen for the little warbler up and down, the warbling song up and down, and then it will do that little upward inflection at the end, and that's what makes the warbling vireo song distinctive. I think it's going to do it. That was a long one. Okay. Wait, let me try to get back to. Yeah, see, now it doesn't let me get back to. This. There we go. Took a few clicks. Our third bird is the ruby-crowned kinglet, which is one of our smallest birds, probably the third smallest. Of course, the hummingbird is the smallest, and then our golden-crowned kinglet. Ruby-crowned kinglets are distinctive by this really tiny thin bill, one wing bar with a black line next to the white line. And sometimes you'll see, if they're agitated, you'll see the males have this red crest. Their feathers are red on top, but most of the time that a little crest is hidden. And so that can be hard to see. Something else to look for, though, is a split eye ring, which can really stand out on this bird. When they're moving and foraging up in the trees, they flip their wings. And that's pretty distinctive of this bird, to let you know that it's a kinglet. So it's this flat, a really fast flap of a wing. It will go from one branch to another. And as it goes to a branch and is about to land, it will flip its wings, and it'll flip its wings as it's moving along the branch. And that's something to look for as far as behavior and knowing if you have a kinglet. You could see the male on the left here has this tiny little red, the red crest is not raised in this picture. Most of the time, if you're looking, you have to think that these birds are way up high. You won't see the red crest at all. So you won't know whether it's a male or not. And the female is doesn't have the red crest at all, but otherwise she's colored the same. You can see her white wing bar here with the black line next to it. It's really much just a single wing bar and the split eye ring, the little tiny bill. And of course, she'll flip her wings as well. And we'll listen to that song. I always like to describe it that it starts off like really high pitched, like, and then it does. So it's really worth trying to listen to that really high pitched, and then it leads into the rest of the song. And that's a clue of the ruby-crowned kinglet song. Anyone have any question about the bird so far? No. Okay.
Blue-gray
Lesley?
gnatcatcher. So this is another teeny little bird. It's only about, it's a little bigger than the kinglet. It's about 4 inches. And so it's a little, maybe a little smaller than a house wren. So you see the blue, sort of slate blue head and wings and back, very pale belly, and a little bill. Has a really distinctive eye ring. You can see that white eye ring. And then the tail, you can't see it in this photo, but you can see it in the next photo. The tail is also sort of is black, and it has little white bars on the edges. And when you see a blue-gray gnatcatcher perched, its tail angles up like a kind of like a wren. So if you happen to see them perched, and they are very busy birds, like the kinglets, they're always flitting around, and they flick their tails so they can sort of, I think that's a way of sort of agitating the insects so that they can, that the insects will get agitated and then they'll turn around and eat them. So let's go to the next picture. There we go. So here, now what you see here in the male is this black sort of V. It's like a line over, yeah, thank you, over the eyes, and then it just goes right over the bill. And that's what you see in males, particularly in breeding season. The female, which is on the right here, is very similar. You see the eye ring, and here you can see the tail a little bit more. And this is a really good image of how you might see a gnatcatcher perched with the little tail sticking up. The female's really similar in color pattern, only it's just a lighter gray and doesn't have the black sort of V. And again, these birds are they just flit everywhere. They have a little very high pitched squeaking sound. It's got sort of two notes. It goes down and up, kind of like they're really high. Oh, you embedded it. Oh, great.
It's a bit whiny sounding.
Yeah. And hard to hear with all the other birds. Sometimes you'll hear it and you'll know you've got to look for that bird because it's right there. So male or female? Any guesses?
Male.
Other guesses?
Female.
Transgender.
I'm thinking because it's not a really distinctive black line that this is a female. What do you think, Laura? Oh, and maybe you didn't hear me.
You're muted.
I thought it was a male
Ah, so I thought the line
because it has this dark, right, this black line here.
So I didn't.
And I think
see-
it's just the angle of the photo makes it really difficult to tell for sure.
yeah, but that would be the.
But I thought it was a fun challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess we could all holler about what 50-50.
Well, yeah.
Shall we move on to
Yeah.
the next one? Yeah, okay.
The brown creeper, another teeny little bird. It's just a little bigger than the gnatcatcher. What's distinctive about the brown creeper is the sort of brown and white, and there's also a little bit of a buff color mottled pattern in the back, on the back and wings, very white underneath, light colored underneath. And you see how the bill sort of curves down a little bit? Decurved bill helps it sort of poke under the bark, and you can see these rough pieces of bark, and it's going to poke under those pieces of bark to get insects. And interestingly enough, it will sometimes poke up a large piece of bark and create a nest underneath it. They make their nests underneath these large bits of bark, usually on dead trees. When you see it, it will be climbing up the trunk of the tree. It kind of hitches itself up. It uses its tail for leverage. And so it won't be climbing smoothly like a nuthatch. It'll kind of rock and roll its way up. But they've got really, really good camouflage. The brown creepers, yeah. Yes, where's the bird? Where's Waldo in this picture? You could see here how with the snow on the trunk, it's almost impossible to see. But what you do ultimately see is the movement, because it is this sort of little hitchy movement and you can also hear them. These are also very, very high pitched songbirds. Oh, good. Yeah, sort of sounds like a squeaky wheel. Need a little WD-40. So actually the last three birds, the kinglets, the blue-gray gnatcatchers, the brown creepers, all have these little high-pitched songs. They're a little different, but the great thing about those little high-pitched songs is that really alerts you to the bird. You can really it just draws your attention. So you'll hear the sound and look for the bird. So that's all I have for the creeper.
Great. We haven't set a date yet for May, just to let you all know. We're usually the first Monday of the month, but because of different classes and things that Lesley and I are doing, we may have to change it to Tuesday, but we will let folks know. Yes, so it'll be in the newsletter, and then we will also send an email to people who register. And then we have a question: when are the target birds expected to arrive? So the brown creeper is already is here. And then the, let's see, blue-gray gnatcatcher will be towards what, third week in April. The blue-headed vireo would be mid-April, and the warbling vireo would be towards the end of April. And that's 5, right? Yeah, I think.
People have seen kinglets.
Oh, and the kinglets. Oh, people, yeah, you should start seeing kinglets
Yeah.
pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, beginning of April to mid-April.
I know that the brown creeper will be lower in the tree, but do the other birds will we ever see them anywhere other than high up in the canopy?
The ruby crown kinglets sometimes are right at eye level.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're right at eye level.
Great.
So sometimes they'll be way up high, but a lot of times they'll be right at eye level. But I feel like the vireos are mid-level in a tree, so they can be pretty high up in a tree. Sometimes, yeah, pretty much the vireos are pretty high up. Yeah.
But the gnatcatchers, I've seen them go down and up. So mostly sort of mid canopy, but I see them go down and up. So, you know, that's the best.
Thank you.
Was there another question? It seems like there's another question here.
And someone asked, are kinglets migratory? And yes, they are. So they'll be migrating through, trying to remember exactly where they breed. I'd have to look it up again, but they're migratory. So we don't see them all year round. Any other questions? Great.
Okay.
Well, have a good month, everyone.
Happy birding.
Happy birding, especially
Thank
for
you.
April. Yay.
Thanks for doing this.
An exciting month. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all for coming.
Yeah,
Have a
thanks.
good night.
You too.